from there, since we are talking about the exact nature of the investigation, I'm joined by a very special guest. Laurent Richard is the executive director, founder of Forbidden Stories. Remember, they have put together, the French-based NGO, this massive Pegasus project. First of all, Laurent, congratulations for the sheer scale of this project across so many countries, the impact it's having in many countries. From an Indian perspective, though, the question that many politicians are raising, especially in the government, this is mere sensationalism based on conjecture, that all you're finding, just having a data list of numbers is not enough. You cannot use that as evidence. How do you respond to this charge that this is sensationalism, a fishing expedition with no hard evidence, Laurent?
I can only say one thing. This is just journalism. This is a collaborative journalism with 80 reporters who work for months to investigate a list that we do have access to, a list of phone numbers entered by NSO customer into the NSO system. And some of those numbers have been really infected. We were able to check and to find some evidence of inside some phones.
But you know, Laurent, y'all got a database of about 50,000 numbers, which y'all are slowly putting out in the public domain. The government's response in India is, indeed across the world, several governments, where is the documentary evidence to corroborate that these numbers were actually hacked? The source of the database not known. Anyone can put out a number. Is that enough? How do you respond every time governments say, please show us the documentary evidence to corroborate that these numbers were hacked?
Yeah, the number itself constitutes an action of surveillance because that's one kind of preliminary action of surveillance. And in addition to that, what is really new with that Pegasus project is that we are coming with evidence. We were working with the Amnesty International Security Lab, who was able to find some traces of infection into some devices, and those traces were linked to NSO. So that's very for the public opinion.
No, but let's be clear, Laurent, there are thousands of numbers. Some of those numbers you managed to put through forensic evidence, as you say. But can we say that simply the existence of a particular number on this NSO list indicates a hack? Can we say with confidence that these are the very numbers, or do you believe that we would then have to go through forensic analysis of all these numbers, Laurent?
No, we never say that. We never say that. We only say that those phone numbers were entered into the system by NSO customers. This is what we say. The second thing we say is that when we were able to approach people, we told them we have reasons to believe that you have been maybe under surveillance. Is that possible to do some forensic on your phone? And then when we did that, we were able to find some traces of infection. So this is really concerning because that shows how governments are buying a very dangerous software that is misused massively against people who are journalists, human rights defenders, or political opponents.
In India, Laurent, there are about 300 numbers that your investigation suggests, out of which at least I know a half a dozen that you put through forensic analysis that show that Pegasus software could have intervened. Could we say with confidence that all these 300 or a majority of these numbers could have been hacked? Is that your sense from what your investigation suggests?
No, that's again numbers were entered by the NSO customers. That's proof that the person that belongs to the phone number is a person of interest, of someone who wants to do some surveillance, or someone who is interested to know where this person is before targeting him, if he decides to target him. So this is what we can see. And so I think what this Pegasus project is proving is the scale of massive surveillance and how this could be misused against, the population.
And could we say, therefore, with confidence that this NSO list was, in a way, as part of a contract that the NSO had with the government of India, or do you believe there could be some other state agencies involved? Are you convinced that this was the Indian government which was the client of NSO, or could it be some other state agency operating out of India?
Well, NSO say that they are only selling that to governments. So I guess it's what we see is clearly a state action of India. So that's what we are revealing.
NSO also, Laurent, is saying that some of the countries that are named in this list are not their clients. How do you respond? Is NSO trying to fudge this entire issue, in your view, the Israeli company?
Yeah, we know it, but we just say that that would be great if NSO will disclose the list of the country where they are, because that's very important to know. And you're talking about a company that is non-transparent. So, of course, in that kind of case, you won't find any single countries who will admit that they are buying such a spyware, because that's dangerous, because there is no regulation, because there is no transparency, because that's considered as a weapon. And so, of course, NSO is denying everything. And this is not a surprise, actually.
You know, further investigation, of course, will be presumably required, checking these numbers. Now, your tech partner in this is Amnesty. You've also taken certain numbers, taken it to the University of Toronto, to the lab there. I want to, the government's other view is that this is a foreign conspiracy. I don't know whether you heard our BJP spokesperson saying that, that this is part of a foreign conspiracy. There are those who are saying Amnesty has an agenda against India. Human rights groups have an agenda against the Modi government. This is a conspiracy against Mr. Modi. Amnesty forced out of the country. It's targeting the government. Do you want to respond to that, this whole thing that this is a foreign conspiracy?
Well, I can say that Amnesty has no agenda with that, and we do work with Amnesty as a tech partner of this project. This project is an investigative journalism. It's about journalism. It's about investigation. And at Forbidden Stories, we are journalists. And so what we are worried about is to find some evidence, and what we find it's evidence. So there is no anti-India feeling. There is no anti-India conspiracy. It's just journalism.
And presumably the evidence that will conclusively prove that there was hacking is the entry or the presence of Pegasus software in these specific numbers if the mobile numbers are put through forensic analysis. Am I correct, Laurent?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is public. You can find the security lab report. This have been published, and you can also find the tool that Amnesty is using. It's already an open data now.
If the Indian government, though, Laurent, was to ask you tomorrow, can you provide us all whatever documents you have? Would you make whatever you have available to the government or a court-monitored inquiry in India on this phone hacking?
No, what we are making available is a stories for the public opinion, and that's what we did, and we did that for the general interest. And so that's what we need is answers now. What we are asking is questions to Indian governments, and I think that this is the next step, is getting some answers from authorities, not only in India but in other countries, to have clarification for the sake of the public interest.
Do you believe, though, that the only way in which we will know the exact extent of this is to order a probe? France has ordered a probe. Do you believe that at the end of the day, India, only in the absence of documentary evidence at this moment, all you need a proper judicial probe? Do you agree with that?
I think, yeah, it's really up to the citizens, up to the victims to decide what they want to do after that. Do they want to file a complaint against a country, against the company? Really up to the justice to do his work now.
It's interesting, NSO, Israeli company, allegedly close to Benjamin Netanyahu. Many of the countries listed here are countries with which Israel had strong ties. What is the larger issue? Do you believe that it is the manner in which governments are using technology and surveillance to pry on citizens without their knowledge, thereby perhaps destroying their right to privacy? We saw that in the Jamal Khashoggi case, where the Saudi national was tracked by the government, killed eventually. Do you believe that's the biggest fear, that there is the big state out there which is prying on people's lives using technology, which is the real danger?
Yes, that's a big danger for all of us. That's a big danger for democracy. That's a big danger for journalists, human rights defenders, and every people who can represent a kind of a danger for the power. And so if there is no regulation, if there is no conversation about, okay, what can we do to protect citizens, that will be a problem for the next years. And this is a global threat against democracy. That kind of cyber attack is invisible. It's hard to get some evidence, and it's a very dangerous tool against democracy.
My final question then, you've tracked 45 countries, India, more than 300 cases being found here. Is that something that surprised you, the scale of this operation, possible operation in India, where numbers of journalists, human rights activists, politicians, all coming out? I mean, compared to the other countries, we saw ourselves as a democracy, and now we realize that within the democracy, there is a sort of deep state out there, which perhaps is tracking people. Are you surprised at the number of numbers in your list from India?
Yes, I was surprised. We knew that Citizen Lab report and on the WhatsApp case that there were some Indian targets already. So that's not a surprise that Pegasus is used against Indian people. What is surprising is the scale. What is surprising is how this tool has been used against different parts of people who can represent a danger for the poor in India.
Let's leave it there, Laurent. Thanks very much for joining us. I'm told many more names are coming out in the days ahead, so we look forward to finding out more, and hopefully that this investigation will be taken to its logical conclusion. Laurent Richard of Forbidden Stories, appreciate your joining me here on the news today.